Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Anything Liverpool channel with myself, Mihai, and James joining us for a very special FPL stream. So, thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Monday evening after a bit of a disappointing fixture that happened yesterday with Liverpool losing out on penalties to Crystal Palace, but crucially avoiding the Charity Shield curse that has fallen. What is it? I think 15 of the last 16 or 14 of the
It's
last
something
15
like that. It's
teams
only
that
two
haven't gone
wins,
on to
isn't
win
it?
it. Yeah, I think there's only been one team since 2011, I believe, that has won it, and that's Man City, that won the Charity Shield and won the Premier League in the same season. So we'll consider that our silver lining in the cloud. But before we get into everything, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos as well, so that you never miss out. We done our Premier League predictions video not too long ago with Michael and Tom Little there for that, and there was some controversial opinions in that, with somebody saying Liverpool had finished second. Now, I wouldn't want to show my face around many Liverpool groups if that was me that was saying Liverpool will finish second. But that being said as well, Anything Liverpool are running their own fantasy Premier League with spot prizes available. I'm going to get it up on Twitter now, actually, because I can't remember off the top of my head what the spot prizes are. But sure, look, that's showbiz, folks, of me not having a fucking clue what's going on. 2 seconds for me now. We'll get everything here. I do believe the first prize is £100. And I do believe there are first prize is €100, not pounds, sadly, so a little bit less, £85. Second prize is €50, and third prize is €25. In order to be eligible, you need to follow us on Twitter, you need to like and retweet the post, and you also need to comment your team name. So make sure that you jump over to our Twitter to do that. There's also a link in the bio of this particular video to jump on and join the actual league itself. So make sure to jump down into the description and you'll see the link there to be able to join the league too. But without further ado, I shall introduce you to my panel mates. James, it has been quite a while since we have been on stream together. It's nearly been a year at this point, my man. How are you? How's everything going? Are you excited for FPL again this year?
No, because I did terribly last year. But, you know, I'm a sucker for punishment, so let's do it. Let's see how we get on. I'm happy with the team name I've come up with this year. I think it's up there. I think the three of us have probably got three of the best team names when it comes to the thing. And I think when we get to our teams, we'll probably say the team names. But I'm proud of the name I come up with this year. Last year was Crouch Potato, which I thought was quite good. But this year, I think I've done better.
Yes, I agree with you. I think you have done better. But the first one that we're going to come across here is Carter's team. And Carter is one of the guys that has been with us for a while across both our previous escapades with other, shall we say, outlets. And his team name, which I quite like, FC Carterlona. Inventive, creative. We like it. Kelleher in goal, Virgil, Murillo, Gabriel, Juff. That's a sleeper option, I feel myself. Florian Wirtz, Cole Palmer, Mo Salah, and Ndeye, along with Solanke and Welbeck up front. Mihai, how, as the resident poor for yeah, I agree. Charlie's right there, to be fair, I won't lie. But I'm introducing him now, so it's fine, because he is the resident champion of the previous league that we ran, the Moneyball League, and he is the back-to-back champ, so the double champ does whatever the fuck he wants. What do you make of the team? Is there any sleepers in here that have yourself, or maybe were considering yourself? I know Juff was one that was considered by an awful lot of people, and it's interesting to see Carter pick non-attacking defenders, which has normally been the norm for quite a while, but the change in rules of defensive contributions seems to have changed up people's strategies for that. What do you think, Mihai?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised because it's quite similar to mine. Now that I look at it, yeah, I think it's interesting with the defensive contributions, because you just don't know how necessarily of a game changer they're going to be. Now, obviously, there's points to be won, but I don't really know. I'm still struggling with the strategy myself because I don't quite know if I'm supposed to go for the safe center back who's got more defensive contributions or still punt on wide back. It's still kind of the thought. I think I'm quite, at least in FPL terms, I'm quite a conservative. So I'm probably gonna stick with what's brought me success in the past few seasons. But yeah, there's definitely the one that I'm quite interested to see how he does is NDI from Everton, because I have him myself. Now I think, to be quite honest with you, looking at the options from like up until, let's say, 7.5, I think if you look at like the mid-range midfielders, you don't really have a lot of options, because then you kind of, I've seen people take have Anderson in their teams, for example, and I'm thinking, are we reading too much into the DEFCONs at the moment? Because it just feels weird to me to pay 5.5 for Anderson from Forest. So I think I'd rather take a punt, if you can say it like that, on someone like Ndiaye, who still has pens, I believe. The only problem now with someone like that is that Grealish has just signed, so that's probably a few minutes they're going to be taken away from him as well. Yeah, I quite like Palmer's team, Carter's team, sorry. Mainly probably because it's quite similar to mine, as I said. I don't quite like the formation, and I'm not quite sure about Welbeck myself. I actually had both Solanke and Welbeck in one of my drafts, but I had to give them both up because they're quite injury prone. And with Welbeck, I just remember last season, I think there was a game where he was expected to start, and then he just wasn't in the team, and then in the squad basically, and we just didn't get any sort of info on that from their manager. So Welbeck, even though it's a very interesting and high upside pick, I'd avoid for now, I think.
Yeah, see the defensive contributions, I feel, will be a massive game changer. Because I looked up some of the numbers, and a couple of guys that are the big FPL gurus across like X and Twitter and everything like that, basically retroactively done it over last season and showed you sort of how guys would perform. So, for example, Casemiro would probably be one of the most valuable midfielders based on what he does. He has, in thinking 90% of games at home, he has over 12 defensive contributions per game. And away from home, it's 38% of the time. He has a 12 plus hit rate on defensive contributions 67% of the time he plays. So you're going to get those bonus points through there. Somebody like a Caicedo, and this is why I myself actually have gotten Elliot Anderson in, because he's somebody that does it more than half the time and just has a silly amount of them, both at home and away. A good sort of comparison between the two. Somebody that I didn't think would show up on this, though, and you can sort of see where certain players don't have them, because this is going to bring, James, defenders from teams, as you can see with Carter here. Normally, you'd usually see a Kirkes, a Frimpong, your Lacroix as well from Palace is somebody that will probably feature a lot in this, or Munoz from Palace will feature a lot in this as the defending options, because they're wing backs and attacking defenders, so to speak. But it seems to have altered it to a degree that people are going for more of a defender that's probably going to get a lot of clean sheets, i.e. us, Arsenal, Forest, and get a lot of these defensive contributions as well that'll add up into it as well. Do you see the trend moving that way, or is it just it's going to be hot for a couple of weeks and then filter back to the norm?
No, I think I've gone more similar to old school wing backs, attacking wingers and stuff like that, because whilst I get there's the defensive contributions and stuff like that, if for example you were to have Trent and Kanate does all the defense. But if you now pick a Frimpong who gets back and presses and counter presses back when people are covering, actually his defensive contributions are probably going to be quite significantly higher, because actually he just nicks the ball away from people because he's so quick. So I kind of get there's elements of defensive contributions from box play, but I actually think there's probably just as much defensive contributions in some of these players. Like, I think Frimpong will have as many defensive contributions as Virgil. It's just Virgil will have more clearances and Frimpong will have more interceptions and things like that. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out, because then it's what's the upside. Well, Frimpong could end up playing right wing in certain games and he could score goals and get us assists, and then it starts to exponentially go up. So I think defenders who score from headers and are solid, Gabriel, Virgil, I think they're solid. Murillo, I think are solid picks. I think your Tarkovskis, your Braithwaite's, you're solid but don't score and don't do anything but are just sort of brick walls. I don't think this is going to bring them into the game for me personally.
It's interesting you say that, considering where those guys actually rank, because the likes of, hilariously, funnily enough, what you said about Frimpong rings true already for a guy that also used to play for Liverpool in Nico Williams, because he ranks possibly as one of the highest in both attacking contributions and the defensive contributions. So I think that might be somebody that does that. But your likes of Jared Brantwaite, your likes of Milenkovic, Tarkovsky, Gvardiol, those guys, I think especially Gvardiol this year, because he's probably going to actually be playing centre back rather than left back. It's going to be, I think it's going to throw a big spanner in the works for an awful lot of people. Personally, I think it's going to make people overthink and make more mistakes, which is going to be really interesting to see. We're going to move on from Carter's team now.
Day, isn't it?
That's team. It's a different Steve's team. Yeah. Now this is a different Stevens team. I can't remember I don't know what his surname is, but look, he's part of the little group that we have as well. He seems to be taking a leaf out of your book and my book, James, in both Frimpong and Neco Williams. And then he's also gotten his João Pedro and Isak. It's nice to see him there quadrupling up on possible Liverpool players, with Isak sat there at the striker position. Mihai, I'll come to you first again on this in sort of getting your thoughts on this one. Personally, I think, as I said, a lot of people are going to start repeating the same players. Like, we have Juff in there again. You're going to have your Salah. You're going to have Palmer. You're going to have Isak. There's going to be a solid 5 or 6 players that are really going to show up in an awful lot of these teams. Now, with Spurs losing James Maddison, do you see Mohamed Kudus possibly moving to the 10 position, especially if Spurs try and go and get Savinho from City?
I'm very much on the fence regarding him, because he's been one of those players that I have. They're in my draft this week. They're out of the draft next week, and then back again 2 weeks later. I just can't really decide on him yet. I'm trying to play around with options. When his price was announced at the beginning, I thought, yeah, definitely that's a lock-in for me. And then, I started overthinking. I'm not sure if I started overthinking, or if it's just maybe I just thought of different, better combinations, let's say, of players. I have no clue what I'm going to do about him. I think he's a good option. I just don't know how much he's actually going to play now, because they're going to have I won't necessarily see him play as a 10 for Spurs. And then also, I think if Spurs are going to land Savinho, then again, more conversation regarding his minutes. I think he's a high upside pick, but, regarding he's not expensive, so that's a plus. So there's not like a whole lot of downside, especially if you have playing midfielders and attackers, basically not taking him into account every week. So yeah, maybe I'm talking myself into it again. I don't know. Good pick. I don't know if he's gonna make the final cut for me though. João Pedro is the one I'm so curious to see if he hadn't scored a double in the Club World Cup final, if he hadn't been in so many drafts, because I feel like everyone's including him now. His price is really good, but I'm not really sure he's gonna be that clinical finisher that everyone thinks he's gonna be at Chelsea. So yeah. I don't know about how. I don't know what do you guys think about Pedro? Because I think I'll avoid him.
Oh God. Well, we've gotten some lovely little comments there from a very particular. If anybody doesn't know who this guy is, by the way, that's adorable. That's funny. We'll touch on that a bit later. I'm sure everybody can see it there in the comments. James, for if you're not familiar, LFC Owen was a guy that decided to go on TikTok Live and have a picture of Diogo Jota the day of his passing behind him on a live stream on TikTok, and asked for gifts from people to give him money to make him feel happy because Diogo Jota had died. And if anybody wants to see, I'll just let everybody read that. Try me, I dare you, fucking tosser.
Doesn't look like it made him happy.
No, it doesn't. Do you want some gifts, Owen? You little fucking waste of sperm. But anyways, we'll not get onto the topic. James, with Stephen's one here, it's interesting because, as you've seen, like, he's tripled up on Liverpool, and funnily enough, I have it here from somebody done it for the Palace game that we just had, and what you said again rang true. Frimpong had 5 defensive contributions. Konate had 9 because he was defending that side. Similarly, Lacroix would have been the defender on sort of the right-hand side of that back three, I believe, for Palace. But Munoz had 9 defensive contributions, so he's tracking back even more and getting involved in it. So it's really going to be weird to see it. But one person that's in this team that I want to really talk about, and I think could be the FPL signing of the season, is Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz has an assist, and he had 10 defensive contributions as well in the game against Palace. He seems to be absolutely everywhere. Do you think that this is going to be the person that everybody's going to have in their team for the entire season, or is it maybe a little bit too soon to call that?
I haven't put him in my team. Because I have a rule where I'll only have 2 players from a club, and I won't have them in the same position. So if I've got 2 midfielders, I'll have 1 Liverpool midfielder, and it'll be either a Liverpool defender or a Liverpool attacker. It's just a weird rule I set for myself. So if Liverpool have a bad week, I don't ruin myself points-wise, and you don't end up, because I try and keep a minimum of 60 points per week. So I don't put all my eggs in Liverpool being successful in midfield, because you get defensive and offensive points. So I went with 1 midfielder, and you can't leave out Mo Salah. So I thought, well, I'll leave out Wirtz. But I do think there is a really good chance that he could be the player, a bit like Chris Wood last year, where everyone just has to bring them in because he's just performing so well and he's just doing so much, because his defensive contributions, some of those, like Liverpool's style of play in that game against Palace, look to be get the ball to the edge of the box and just see what Wirtz does with it and who he pings it into and whose feet it goes to. And Ekitike could deal with the ball really well. It's a bit like when Steven Gerrard used to just drill balls into people and be like, well, it's your job to control it. I'll get the ball to you. So I think there is a really good chance people will have to bring him in. I haven't.
Yes.
But we will see it. Because it's only 8.5 million, it's a really easy rebuild if you need to bring him in.
Yeah.
Not like trying to rebuild to bring in Salah, because if you've got to rebuild to bring in Salah, you've got to make a lot of money free to do the 14.5 million switch. So that's why I haven't at the moment. But I do think he's either going to fly or he's going to do well. But it's who would the majority of play for Liverpool going to go through? Is it going to be Salah or is it going to be Wirtz? And if it ends up being Wirtz, I can see Salah being taken out of a lot of teams.
See, I can see that as well, because if Wirtz is able to get the assists and the goals and the defensive contributions, Mihai, I can see him replacing Salah, and you taking, similar to what I did last year, with so much money being put on Salah, you could very easily spread that 6 million, 7 million across a couple of other players that will net you more in the aggregate, don't you think?
Yeah, I think I wasn't sure, and maybe I still am. I'm still not sure if it's just the Liverpool bias, but it's the same for me. I just feel like Wirtz is going to be like that kind of KDB player, but the one that actually plays constantly and stays fit and can do multiple things. And for that price, I still see people going Bruno ahead of him, and I'm thinking that's just mad. I mean, if Bruno had Sunderland, Leeds, and Burnley as his first three fixtures, then maybe, yeah. But even so, you think about it, right? Yeah, it seems like it's a no-brainer for me. It was like ever since the beginning. You know, I just put him in there, and he's one of those players I'm probably not going to get rid of at any point. So yeah, I honestly don't see how you're going to go without him. I think you're going to get punished if you're going to go without him.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think we're going to move on to one of the other teams. And before we do so, just make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out. We have our link to the FPL League for the Anything Liverpool FPL League. Winner gets €100. Second place gets €50. Third place gets €25.
Can you confirm, is it euro or pounds?
It's euro. It's euro. It's what it said on Twitter. Look, it's not me. The guy that owns Anything Liverpool is Irish, so he put euro.
Scamming us out of money.
85 pounds, 40 pounds, and I believe 20 pounds is probably the way it goes. But with the description below, make sure you jump down to the description if you're watching on YouTube at the minute, and you will find the link to the league there. If not, if you're watching on Twitter or X at the moment, it's up at the top. It's the most pinned tweet for us. So make sure you jump into that too. But yeah, fun times. So we're going to move on to one of the teams that the owner of thinks they're going to win it, and that is Charlie. And Charlie's team name is Frim Ping Pong, which I think is quite creative in itself. But this is Charlie's team: Kelleher, Dubravka, Gabriel, De Kuyper, Brandtwaite, Virgil, Wan-Bissaka, Malen, Salah, Wirtz, Marmoush, Bruno Fernandes, Mark Guy, and Solanke and Strand Larson. Not gonna lie, there's a lot to like about this, and he has $500,000 in the bank as well. Mihai, Charlie chatted a lot of shit last season. He did enjoy, until he gave up halfway through it. That's likely excuse. But let me know your thoughts on the possible title challenger that you may have again this season.
He's gone for a few of the players I've gone as well, but that's to be expected, I guess. I am 99% positive I'm not gonna go for Strand Larson and Marmoush. Or Malen. But yeah, I don't know. It's Guyo makes sense. I think he's going to be on everyone's bench come the beginning of the season, probably. But yeah, he has a lot of the same players that I've picked as well. Curious what he's going to do about Solanke if he's not fit. Where is he going to go? Although I do have an idea with 8 million in mind, the one that I have in my team as well. We're going to see later. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent side. I think it's a lot of the same players that we've seen so far. I am the one that I'm really, really not convinced about, and I've seen content creators trying to convince me and still haven't managed to do so up until this point, is Strand Larson. I feel he's done probably a lot better than expected last season, but I don't know if he's going to keep on performing that well necessarily.
Yeah. Now, James, we have a question here from one of the guys. Now, it's not a certain someone that does have LFC at the start of their name, but we won't mention who. Don't mention Voldemort. Does Juff start over Wan-Bissaka? Because obviously we've seen in this team here that Charlie has, Wan-Bissaka is there. And then in other teams we've had Juff. Do you see one starting over the other, or do you see them both starting together? What way do you see it? Is it a shared minutes kind of thing?
I've gone for Wan-Bissaka over Juve. Because I think Wan-Bissaka can play both left and right, and I think Juve plays one. So I think you're more likely to get minutes from Wan-Bissaka for the 4.5 million than you are from Juve. So whilst we've seen Wan-Bissaka play on the left back and right back last season, there is a chance both play, and it's not really a problem. But yeah, I think for me, Wan-Bissaka is more of a secure bet because I think he plays both sides and I think he's more likely to play. But that's just my guess. I think from Charlie's team, for me, Donny Marlin's the interesting one because he's got 2 goals, 3 assists in pre-season, but in multiple games. It's not like Danny Welbeck, who's got 4 goals in pre-season, but it all came against Wickham in one game at the start of pre-season. Donny Marlin's got involved in Eintracht Frankfurt. He got involved against Lewis City, Nashville, AS Roma. He's got a goal and assists pretty much in every game that he's played. So it's interesting to see if he can take that momentum into the Premier League, because you can have great pre-seasons. Look at Rio for us. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in pre-season, but he's not going to start the season. Marlon could be ready. I hope he is for Charlie's sake, because I don't think any of his strikers have scored in pre-season.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true,
think there's a
actually.
single goal in his front line in all of pre-season. So let's hope Donny Marlon kicks on. Otherwise, he could be, with his bench boost on game week 1, as he's put in the chat, he could find himself in a tricky situation very quickly if these strikers don't get themselves on form. So yeah, I think there's a good chance for me. I think Wan-Bissaka and Juve both play, but I think Wan-Bissaka will play, and I think he will be the first choice, depending on who's available where. But I do think West Ham are going to struggle generally. So I think whoever the left and right back are going to be doing a lot of defensive work. So you should get some good defensive points.
Yeah, it's going to be. But see, the thing is, with the defensive points you might get, you're not going to get many clean sheets, and you're going to need to try and sort of find a balance there. Hence, your Branthwaite, your Gabriel, your Virgil. So I guess it kind of balances out that way to a degree. Charlie mentioning here the preseason doesn't matter. They're saving their goals and they don't want to waste them. I mean, they're definitely saving them. That's one way to put it.
You can't use that logic
we are going to move on.
when I've supported your Marlon pick because he's been so good in pre-season.
Okay, we are going to take a look at James's team now, and he's going to walk us through his picks here. Now, he's gone risky. I see a Sticky Vicky. I see a Sticky Vicky in striker there, and I see Beef Turkey there in midfield. That could be very interesting if you really trust the Pep Guardiola rotation roulette. And then a bench of Petrovic, Konsa, Ramsey. I have Ramsey too. And Wan-Bissaka. I'd be interested to see how Ramsey goes. But Kelleher in goal, interesting. I do like his start to the season. You've gone obviously sort of an attacking defender in Timber, who's going to have some decent clean sheet numbers. And then, as you mentioned, you have a Frimpong there who's going to probably deputise for Salah when he goes to AFCON. So you're going to get your goals there and maybe some assists there. You've gone down the route of Kudus, similar to what I was planning on doing, but I've changed it last minute, and I'll touch on that when I do my own team. But walk us through the team and why you've picked who you've picked, James.
Yeah, so I've Charlie just
and Beto, Charlie.
Yeah, well, there's a logic to Beto, which I'll defend at the end. But Kudus I was between Ndiaye and Kudus. Both same price, both could have things. I think with the way that Thomas Frank plays, I think Kudus has got a really good chance from a counter-attacking perspective to be quite good under a Thomas Frank type system. I think defensively it'll be useless, but I think the way that they just swarm forward, they'll get done 4-0 some weeks and he'll get a hat-trick in other weeks. That was my thinking for that. Cherky, 6.5 million. Maybe he'll play, maybe he won't. Maybe I'll need to switch him for Wirtz as we move on the system. And depends on how Cole Palmer starts the season for me. I've gone 2 Chelsea players because I think they'll start the season strong. I think they'll drop quickly because of the World Club Championships. I think the same's true for Chelsea. I think we've got to think about their pre-season started at the end of the season as well. So, yeah, he got 2 goals in the World Club Cup. Criticising his strikers, yet at least Gyökeres has scored in pre-season. João Pedro scored in pre-season. So I am picking strikers that have scored goals, Charlie. So, yes, I have criticised your strikers, but at least mine have scored in pre-season, even if it was only 2 goals and 1 goal. And then the Beto one's an interesting one for me because I think he played he's 5.5 million, so he's dirt cheap. That's one part of the reason. But 2, he was so good towards the end of the season for Everton, and I think they are going to have a new season bounce. He's guaranteed to play as centre forward, So he's guaranteed to play a load of games for them. During preseason, a lot of 0-0s for Everton. They haven't got goals and stuff like that. So there's not a lot of players that are going to bang goals in for them. A lot's going to rely on him getting the goals. And I don't think he's going to be setting the world on fire. But I do think as a £5.5 million player, I think he could do some decent numbers. I'm hoping he becomes a bit Chris Woody like he did towards the end of the season. But I'm not 100% convinced. He's only got 1 goal in pre-season so far. But having said that, Everton have played 6 games, drawn 2, and have 4 losses. So they've not been great in pre-season. But I do think new stadium, new bounce, maybe that starts the season well before they realise that they're shit.
I'll give it 3 weeks. But if you get 3 goals in those 3 weeks, who's going to care? That's the way I look at it. Interesting, because I had Beto last season, and he helped me a lot in the latter part of the season, especially in that double game week where they ended up playing Liverpool, and he scored one of the goals, and I was like, yeah, it was one of them. And Mihai, you were fuming because I had Doucouré as well from Everton as a CDM, and you're like, only Stephen would bring in a CDM and he'd start scoring. And then I brought in Bruno Fernandes, and he started scoring, having not done anything all season. And then all of a sudden, I got rid of him, and you got him, and then he did nothing. Brilliant. What do you make of James's team, Mihai? I personally think it's a bit risky, as Charlie mentions here, with defenders outside of Saliba and Gabriel, as well, we know how Arteta loves his fullbacks. So it'll be interesting to see how much rotation there is there. Timber hasn't had the greatest of injury history. And also as well, you have Nouri and Cherki that could be subject to the ever unforgiving Pep Guardiola roulette. But it's a bit of a feeler team. What do you think, Mihai?
Yeah, I knew he was one that I thought I was 100% going to have in my team as well, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it yet. Not convinced he's still going to be out come Friday, but I'm still thinking on it. Yeah, Timber, I think I am actually going to avoid Arsenal defense. It did bite me in the ass last season when you had, like, I remember Steven had triple Arsenal defense at some point, and he just kept on getting clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. But then, yeah, I think I'm going to avoid Arsenal defense as of now. Cherki is one that I am absolutely curious to see, because he's the type of player that I think is very, you either love him or hate him. I don't really think there's an in-between. I think there's obviously a lot of potential there, but he's not like a guarantee like Wirtz is, for example. And then regarding the Beto pick, I had him in mind, but I'm not convinced he's going to play as much with Barry now. Or Barry, how are you? Whatever you pronounce that. I think I'm going to avoid Beto. It's mainly part of the reason why I went in DI, because I wanted to have an Everton attacker because I feel their fixtures are decent, but I didn't want to go Beto because I wasn't sure about his minutes. Now, obviously, since Grealish arrived, I'm probably going to have to rethink that, or at least give it a bit more thought. I'm extremely interested to see Gyökeres, because he's one that ever since he was available and I knew we were going to go in for a striker this summer, I was thinking it better not be Gyökeres, because I wouldn't have liked him at Liverpool. And I think he's a bit, dare I say, overrated in the sense that he's scored a lot, but he's also scored a lot of penalties as well. I think it's going to be, I think he may hit the ground running, but I don't think he's going to be sustaining it for too long. I don't.
The goal 60 for 3 weeks and then make the changes that are needed.
Fair enough.
That has to be the goal, because you don't know who's going to come out firing or not. But I've tried to pick players where you can tweak without having to play your wild card too early. So I think you often see game week 2, bash wild card. And
well, see, the handy thing about it though is you have 2 wild cards this season.
I know.
Oh, you had 2 last season. Sorry, you're getting 2 of like bench boost, triple captain, and whatever else there is there as well. So you have 2 of everything. But yeah, wasting it that early when you can use it possibly towards AFCON would probably be the better option, in my opinion. That would probably be the best time to use it. Around game week 15, I believe, is when AFCON kind of kicks in. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think Gyökeres, he'll get his goals, maybe, but I think teams will very quickly figure out how to defend him, and I think he'll fall off very quickly. I believe he might start strong, but Arsenal won't win games, but he'll get a goal or 2, and he'll be a good FPL option. But I think as a team, Arsenal would be worse, which then makes your Urian Timber pick suffer because of the lack of clean sheets from that. That'd be the way that I'd look at it. I'd look at it. But it's a good team, in my opinion. I think the only thing, as you said, you've picked guys that are easily plug and place. Whereas if Nuri doesn't work, I can pull him out and put Virgil in there. It's the same price. And then you have a solid option there. Cherki as well. There's other options that are around similar price to him. You're not massively retooling your team to get those guys in or out or however. But it'll be interesting to see how that develops, because if Nuri starts all season, that could be a very, very good pick. If not, I think it's going to be absolutely Marmite. It's either going to love it or hate it, in my own opinion, with a lot of these players. But as you said, James, very plug and place. Very much I can pick and pull where needs be with that. We're going to move on now to Mihai's team, and we're going to take a look here. And we leave my team to the last.
Champions team.
But here is,
double champions team.
Yeah, the champions team. Yeah, the back-to-back champ. The double champ does what he wants. And this is Mihai's team. And if you wouldn't mind giving us... James, I never asked you, as absolutely disgraceful as that was, please, James, would you enlighten us as to this beautiful team's name?
Frimpong and Prosper. If you're a nerd, you'll get it. If you're not a nerd.
Absolutely brilliant name. I copped it straight away, and I was like, that's quality. That is quality. I like that. There's been a good few good FPL names that I've seen. If anybody has any funny ones, put them in the comments, because I know there's a good few funny ones. Some of the ones that we haven't seen. Where we're looking here, we had Tom Johnson. We had Eze Come, Eze Go. That's a good one. We had James's one, Frimpong and Prosper. We have Slot One In. Was one from another guy by the name of James. And then we had a nil. Ekatike and Conquer is a good one. One of my favorite ones that I seen personally is a 3-name sort of combination is Slot. Oh, Charlie. Oh, no. Oh, that's disappointing. One of the ones that's a 3-name pronged for Liverpool is Slot Matip in Diaz, which I thought was quite funny. But we're going to move on to Mihai's team now after getting James's name done and dusted. And Mihai, if you wouldn't mind giving us the name of this absolutely glorious team that you have assembled here of Avengers, the back-to-back double champs, do what the fuck they want. What is the team name that you have gone with this season?
After a lot of thought, I decided to go with Ekitike Taka. I had to. I like it. The funny thing is, I did think about Frimpong, but it seems like it's been a lot of the same ideas. I had to get Ekitike in somehow because he's the one player that I know you've done the same in our chat, and I've done the same in my chat with my friends back home. I've defended rival fans. We're saying Ekitike is basically an overrated pick, and I had to defend him. And when he scored inside the first 5 minutes in the Community Shield, I was spamming that chat. But let's move on to the team. So yeah, as I said, I think I was I just realized no one's picked Thiago yet from Brentford. Yeah, interesting. Well, good to. Hopefully, I'm not going to see him in too many drafts now. Yeah, I think I really like the team basically because outside of maybe Guyu and Thiago, I just know that everyone's gonna play. Obviously, maybe Kudus with some question marks around him, but yeah, I didn't really remember if he's in the team as of now because I remember I took him out a few times and then apparently he's back in. Yeah, I think Wirtz, Mo Salah, non-debatable. Frimpong was there ever since the beginning, and I got a bit of confirmation in the Community Shield, and I'm probably gonna stick with him. The Kuiper is one that I've seen ever since he signed. I know him since the Atalanta days, and I think if he starts, he's going to be really good value. Pedro Porro is one that I don't get why is it mainly because of Spurs' defense that he's not more popular? Maybe because if that's the reason, I don't really get why I haven't seen him in more teams as of now. I have this feeling that with Frank's system at Spurs, he's going to be extremely good. Now, obviously, I may be wrong, but yeah. And basically, in the eye, I've explained. And one that could very well change is Bowen. I've gone with him as of now. It could be Mateta. It could be João Pedro if I come around.
Like 8 million is expensive for Bowen when he's a striker and not listed as a midfielder.
Yeah, though the thing is, I do have a special relationship with Jared Bowen. I triple captain him in 2022 in a double game week, and he scored 21 points. And with the triple captain, it was 63. So
nice.
I remember that. I'm gonna remember that forever. It was Norwich away and Leeds at home, I think. Well, anyways, so yeah, I think I honestly can't really find a lot of flaws with the team as of now, but it's kind of the way I usually do it. I just bring a lot of players in that have high upside and that I know are going to play, and then I just figure it out as we go.
Yeah, I can see a lot of the vision, and I can see obviously the Thiago shout from Brentford if obviously Wissa is on the way out, and then you have obviously Mbeumo that has decided to sink his career and move to United. But it's the one. Do you know? I'm finding it hard to poke holes in this, other than Bowen at 8 million and the striker position. That's the only one, because if you think about it, Ekitike is 500,000 more, who will 100% be getting, I think, is a better option at a striker position, considering the team that will be behind him, feeding him the ball. Even if it was a different striker, possibly maybe somebody that hasn't really popped up an awful lot is Cody Gakpo has been repositioned as a midfielder this season. He's no longer a striker. So I'm shocked to see not a lot of people having him in the squad going forward, considering he's around the same price as Florian Wirtz. So it'll be interesting to see if he pops up in a lot of people's early drafts as well. But James, Mihai had the chance to critique your team. Feel free to begin critiquing his team. Let me know what you think about it and where you want to go with this. Charlie obviously has opinions that Branthwaite is better than Tarkowski, in my opinion, in his opinion, should I say, and a bit cheaper as well. Would you share that opinion, or do you think this is quite a balanced team? Because I'm failing to poke holes in it realistically, other than that 8 million on Bowen.
I get the Bowen thing. He's done well in pre-season. I think he's got involved in every, he's done something in every game pretty much West Ham have played in pre-season. So from that perspective, it's good. I kind of agree with Charlie a little bit. If you look at Pedro Porro and Tarkowski, if you went sort of Van der Ven and Braithwaite, you're probably able to trade Thiago, for example, for Mateta, who's had an outstanding preseason. Yeah. So you potentially can take a few risks on players that are going to be starting and are going to be heavily involved in defence, in Braithwaite, who is that sort of central linchpin, and Van der Ven, and maybe get someone in like Mateta, who think has had an outstanding preseason. I think he's, and obviously they're on a bit of a cloud 9 at the moment, aren't they? So I think I've got it here. Crystal Palace. He's got 5 goals, 2 assists, and he's pretty much got involved in every win that they've had. But they have had a dodgy preseason: 3 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. But he's 5 goals, 2 assists. Kudus and Day, Palmer. There's options to change things up. I think I get your point on Gakpo, but what options do you really have on Gakpo when you've got to choose between Gakpo, Wirtz, and Salah?
Yeah,
and Gakpo,
it's a tough one,
ghosts goals. Like, he appears at the back post and scores goals. It's not like he's controlling play and doing all the defensive work and stuff like that. Whereas it's okay for Salah to ghost because he bangs in 30 in a season. I think Gakpo will do well. The thing I'm struggling with Liverpool at the moment is their front line, when you factor in everyone that's brought in, has done like 135 goals last season and assists. And there's just not a chance that they can put that amount of goals through that amount of players. So someone's going to take a step back somewhere. Kind of think that might be Gakpo a little bit. So I can't argue with Salah and Wirtz. They're going to be in Frimpong, I agree with. Yeah, that's the only variable. You might go with Thiago. If you wanted to get Mateta in, you could that way by leveraging a cheaper Spurs and Everton player, but that's about it. He agrees with me on Wan-Bissaka, so I'm happy with that. Agrees with me on Kudus, Palmer, Salah. We agree a lot. It's just strikers where I've taken a bit of a risk, I think.
See, the way that I'm looking at it is I'm not really going big on strikers because I didn't do it last season in that. Now, I had Isak. Yeah, I had like maybe an Isak, but I really focused up on more midfielders last season because, well, especially now this season as well, because if you can get somebody like a Florian Wirtz who could get you a goal or an assist every week, and then also the defensive contributions as well on top of it, and maybe bag a clean sheet here and there, you're really looking at somebody who's going to power an awful lot of points through your team at 8.5 million to get him that early. I can guarantee you by maybe Christmas, Florian Wirtz will
just
be.
Looked what Charlie
I've seen that too. Florian Wirtz. I can't talk. I used him plenty last season and rinsed people, but I could see Florian Wirtz being 10 million by the end of Christmas. In that's how much he might rise in price. And similarly, I think Salah might drop by about 2 or 3 million because, as you said, there's only so many minutes and so many goals to go around in that Liverpool side. And if Salah isn't banging in basically 2 every week nearly, that 14.5 million value comes down. But it's also Mo Salah, and you're willing to take that punt in the first couple of weeks and see if he starts hot and maybe tapers off, because then you can transition to other midfielders that you have more data on at that time. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But we are going to move on finally to my team. But before we do that, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure that you have all of your notifications on for all future streams and videos. Anything Liverpool are running a FPL league where the first prize wins €100, £85. Second prize is €50, about £40 to £45. And third prize is €25, which is about £20. So we're not robbing you out of money. We're just using better money. That's the way that I look at it. But I have made changes from the team that I sent into the group chat. So what I am going to do is I am going to stop sharing and actually share the web page, because I'll actually give you my team.
He's just nicked everyone's ideas and he's just going to merge them in himself, isn't he?
No. You can take a look. I haven't nicked anybody's ideas. That's me, baby. So I have in defense, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here because it'll just be easier. Hopefully everybody can see that. Similar to yourself, I think it was you, James, that went with Aaron Ramsey. It'll be interesting to see how he sort of develops.
Yep.
I've gone with Raya in goal. I think Arsenal still, until they show me otherwise, have the best defense. And if you're going to spend money on a premium keeper, it's probably going to be him. And I have Kelleher there as a backup. In the first couple of weeks, I'm nearly 100% sure they switch over. So let me just have a look at Raya's. Yeah, so they play United, then Leeds, and then they play us. But the same week that they play us, Kelleher all of a sudden is playing Sunderland. So it's very easy to swap that out, and there's my first 3 weeks kind of sorted on the keeper standpoint. Defenders, I've gone very much the similar sort of vein of these defensive contributions will do well. And the Europa League doesn't start for a couple of months, Charlie. We're fine. When Europa League starts happening, then yes, changes will happen. The Europa League doesn't start till fucking October, September, so I'm not even overtly concerned about that. And players will come out then. Murillo and Nico Williams are one of the best attacking and defensive contribution guys in defense. I've gone one risky in Marmoush. I don't know how the Pep roulette is going to hit, because he may rotate an awful lot as a second striker behind Haaland, or he may be on the left wing. God knows where Foden is going to go, where Cherki is going to go, where Bernardo Silva is going to go. Man City at the minute are currently going to miss Rodri until the middle of September at least, and Kovacic has also gone down for them until the middle of October, I believe. So that's now 2 guys there that they're missing from their midfield, that you could see a Reinders, and you'll probably see Nico Gonzalez come in there a little bit, and maybe they might not play Cherki as much because they need a little bit of physicality in that midfield, and they may put Marmoush at the 10 rather than Cherki, but then that means Cherki may play a wing. But then you have Foden, and then you have Bernardo Silva, so I feel that there's way too much rotation possibility there with them. I've risked it with Marmoush. If it goes arseways, it's 8.5 million that I can put towards somebody else. Mo Salah is Mo Salah. I don't see how you can't have him in the team until he shows you he shouldn't be in the team. And this first week that you take him out, he's going to end up bagging a hat-trick. That's just the way it's going to go. Florian Wirtz, he's going to be one of those that's going to get your defensive contributions, and he's also going to get a goal or an assist and be really, really good in the build-up. I think he's going to be involved in an awful lot of what Liverpool do this season. And then Elliot Anderson, he's like a Florian Wirtz light in FPL, does an awful lot of the defensive contributions and also contributes on the offensive side of the ball. Go on, James, you have an opinion?
You've just compared Elliot Anderson to Florian Wirtz.
FPL. I said FPL. In FPL.
It doesn't matter.
I said a Florian Wirtz light in FPL. He does everything that he does at a lower rate, but that's grand. So, yeah, well, see, Shirley, Forest have played 5 preseason games, drew 4-0 and lost 1-0, and it was against Birmingham. They drew 0-0 to Al Qadsiya FC. Well, yes, that's why are you complaining? I got 2 guys there that are going to get me 4 clean sheets and a lot of defensive contributions. This is exactly why I went for them. And if you look at the fixtures that they have at the start of the season as well, it's Brentford, who are going to basically be without 2 of their starting strikers. Crystal Palace, they may concede a goal there. And West Ham, where they're probably not going to concede anything there. West Ham are absolutely shocking. They'll struggle. So it's a wait and see kind of a thing. If not, I can always pivot to somebody like a Virgil van Dijk if needs be. Then the striker options, I've obviously gone with 2 Ekitikes in Alexander Isak and Ekitike. I switched this very recently purely because I don't see Isak happening. And
really,
the reason I don't see
you've been
Isak
on the fence all the time.
Yeah, I know, right? No, well, if it is going to happen, it's not going to happen in the first 2 weeks of the season. It will be probably deadline day if it does happen.
He's not going to start for Newcastle
because Newcastle are. Yeah, it's not going to help Newcastle at all. But realistically, Newcastle couldn't pull Bonnie Blue's knickers down.
I mean, I wouldn't have him as vice captain. He's not going to kick a ball.
No, he's not. But that's obviously going to change by the weekend. I probably will, if I see that there's absolutely no hope he's going to play for them, I'm going to switch him out and put in somebody like Mateta. That's probably going to be the way that I'll go. Maybe even if Vissa, well, I suppose Vissa's kind of in the same boat as Isak, so I might not even go there. It's going to be a fun one to see in the first 2 weeks because Isak moving changes the landscape for absolutely everybody in FPL. Because if he does move, he then becomes probably the one striker that every single person will have in the league. If he doesn't move, a lot of people are going to be sort of spread between Ekitike, Salah, and Wirtz. So that'll be the way that I kind of look at it. Now, I have given my reasoning. Mihai, feel free to critique and let me know your thoughts. Be as brutal as you possibly want.
No, I think good idea to have both Murillo and Williams. From what I know, though, they're about to sign another fullback, so I don't know how
Yeah.
that's going to affect Nico. I don't think I'm gonna go with an Arsenal defender, but then again, it worked out for you last season as well when I avoided him, so who knows? Um, Marmoush, I'm not gonna go for mainly because of the minutes, but then again, if it works,
Yeah.
good fixtures and it can work. The one that I've been thinking of as well is Ekitike. I'm I'm trying to decide if it's my bias or not because I like him a lot. Um, honestly, the more I think about it, and I've had this thought, and I'm most likely not gonna go through with it. But the more I think about Wirtz and Ekitike as both being good options, I'm starting to think of potentially going without Mo Salah as well.
Yeah.
There's as well as it's the thing that you've said regarding the goals to go around. I feel like if we're gonna score 5 goals against Bournemouth, you last season, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, you would have said, okay, Mo Salah is gonna be involved in like at least 3 of them, right? Now,
Yeah.
however, it's not as
Clear cut.
you can't be as certain, right? So there's obviously something to be you can think about it there. Otherwise, Isaac. It feels like you've got a bit of a joker in there because you don't really want to give your hand away as of yet. But we're gonna see. So I think the Forest defenders is a good move. Anderson, I'm not quite sure about yet. Maybe could be,
Yeah.
but I'm not quite sure about yet. And then I think if Guyu is fit, I just play him ahead of Lacroix, but that's just uh, with the way the team looks at this moment. But it's probably not going to
Yeah.
stay that way. So yeah, I don't know. I like the defense a lot, and then obviously I'm not sure of how it's going to look in its final form just yet. So
I'll even tell you what the final form will look like, because if Isaac hasn't basically gotten a here we go for Liverpool, and I'm probably going to move Isaac out for game week 1 regardless, because
He's not going to play.
It depends realistically on where the news is regarding him, because if he does come to Liverpool, which I don't think he will, is it worth keeping him, just smack him on the bench for 1 week? Because between Bournemouth and Newcastle, we have a 10-day gap. All of a sudden, he could become a Liverpool player and be ready to go against Newcastle, which would be hilarious. Or does he miss game week 2 as well? And am I willing to sort of have such a premium option sat on the bench for 2 weeks in the hopes that he's there then for the 3rd week, and let Ekitike run riot for those first 2 weeks, and we kind of see how things go? It all, as I said, the catalyst for an awful lot of teams' moves and how teams will be structured will be around what happens with Alexander Isak. And now I know Mr. was 100 points ahead of me, and I didn't even use Haaland once last season and then finished 150 points behind me. It's chatting shit about my processes and my thought process. We'll not mention what happened the season before last. But James, having a look at the team there, and you've heard the logic, and you've heard what obviously Mihai has mentioned as well. Do you see any methods to the madness? Are you in agreement with Charlie that going with 3 Forest players and 3 Liverpool players, possibly 4 if Isaac lands, is risky business at the start of the season? Or is this kind of, it's a marathon, not a sprint? I'm not going to lose any FPL leagues in the first week. It's very much a feeling out process.
I think you play an opposite game to me. You play high risk, high reward. Because if 3 get put past Forest, you're on for a pretty shitty week.
Yeah.
Whereas if Forest keep a clean sheet, you're probably going to be top of the tree.
Yeah.
Whereas I try and make sure that I've got a nice spread of players playing, and I get points from everywhere, so I get what my minimum average is per week. So I kind of get that. The player I really like is Lacroix because he plays the center of a back three. So he's always going to be getting defensive actions because he is that cover. So he'll get easy interceptions. He'll get easy takeoffs. He'll get easy tackles because they'll take one of the right centre backs or left centre backs and he'll just sweep it up and take it over. So I quite like that, actually. I might nick that one. Ekitike obviously is going to start the season. I think he's going to start really well. My theory on it is similar to Michal, which is Salah, is the goal's going to come from Salah or is it going to come from Ekitike? Ekitike is 8.5 million. Gyökeres is 9 million. My thought is it gets a really easy switch to take out Salah, bring Ekitike in, and then you've got the money to bring in Haaland if you need to. Because nobody in none of the teams we've seen so far have Haaland. And let's be honest, if he starts the season strong, he's going to get 4 goals a game for about 5 game weeks. And then he'll get a slight knock and then be out for 2 months and then never be the same player again. So I like the options that you've got for yourself in it because you can make some really quick moves without having to, again, smash the wild card really early. But there is a bit of risk for me on the Forest side of things. I think Lacroix is a really clever player, though. Like Van der Ven for me was one of those where I was thinking that's really clever because he does a lot of covering and gets a lot of defensive contributions, just mopping things up because he's rapid. I think Lacroix is similar. I think that's a really clever move. I might do that one. So yeah, I think you've got options. I think Isaac's just a bluff because we all know he's not playing for Newcastle and he's not playing for Liverpool in the first couple of game weeks because if he turns up at Liverpool, he needs to integrate in the squad, so he's only coming off the bench. So you're just red herring us all here to see which striker you're going to bring in. How much money do you have left? That doesn't look like it's a full spend.
I'm nearly sure it is a full spend. Hold on now, we'll take a look at transfers.
And the name.
Yeah, it's a full spend.
Huh?
Oh, and the name. Don't forget the name. We're going to go back and we're going to take a look at the name. Gyökeres. I'm very happy with that one. I was going to, because it was obviously very big this time last year with the Hawktua girl, I was going to pick the Ipswich defender, Hawktua, and I was going to do that, but I decided with going with Slotty Doesn't Know, a play on Scotty Doesn't Know for any of the older generation. But I kind of decided to go with Gyökeres. I've seen a lot of them get banned, and I'm not even going to mention the names that I've seen get banned.
Yeah, I mean, if this was 2024, I'd be impressed.
Well, it's what's the word for it? I seen one for Florian Wirtz that was a very specific. We won't mention it because it'll definitely get the stream banned. But it is what it is. That, however, is my team. It is a full spend team. But if I wanted to, you see, if I went in and look at the transfers there, we'll finish up. It's 10.5 million. I drop him all of a sudden. If I went and just selected a replacement and just wanted to go for a Vissa or like Haaland, obviously I can't go for it, it's too much. Mateta, all of a sudden I gain 3 million. Or if you went for Strand Larson, I gain back 4 million. That could easily go on a different. I could switch out Ramsey and get somebody like somebody else that's like an 8.5 million midfielder. It really gives you an awful lot of room to play around with. But that is more or less what I am going with. And the only real change will probably be Isa. Oh yeah, Power Rangers. That's a good one too.
You've got to put go in front of it.
Yeah, go Power Rangers.
Go Power Ranger.
That's a great one. But that is more or less our FPL stream. There's been 7,500 people, over 7,500 people watching us, both across YouTube and Twitter. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, to like and subscribe. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos. Put in the description down below, we have a link to the Anything Liverpool League. We are running an FPL league. Winner gets €100, £85. Second place gets €50, £40. And third place gets €25, £20. So make sure that you have to like and follow anything Liverpool on Twitter. You need to go and put your name in the comments of the post, and you have to repost it as well. So make sure that you do all of that and jump over to us on Twitter, or X as it's known now. But thank you to James and our resident champion, Mihai, for coming and joining me on this Monday night stream. Thank you so much for everybody that watched, over 7,500 people, as I mentioned. It's very much been a fun stream. I hope we'll do a couple more of these. But yeah, it's going to be, Rubber Digna Rapids is a good one. That's a good one, Charlie. Okay, we are going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. For myself, James, and Mihai, hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their evening, and we will see you all when the hell begins at the end of the week.